Hello everyone, Stormgate has launched and I'm here to show you how to open up as Infernals in a safe but greedy way. Pretty much safe against everything and gets you into a great start. From the perspective of the Master of Infernals himself, MSRM, who has been the #1 Infernal for the past few months. And here we go. So we start the game, we spend all of our imp charges, send them to Luminite, and the next 100 Luminite will be used to build the Iron Vault. So as we approach 100, pull one worker off and build the Iron Vault. Now, we do still need to build our buildings on Shroud in order to get the large construction speed bonus. So there it is, that was an extra imp. And as we're thinking about going down to the low ground, so it's about 250 resources illuminates, we want to send an imp down. So Emissarum's actually going to rally. On this map you can do this. So he built this effigy here, and he builds a second effigy. And they did just buff effigies, so they have more vision range, and you can now place the next effigy onto the edge of the shroud, which is something you couldn't do before. So they did make Infernals easier to play. And obviously then we plonk down the shrine. So behind this, we've just been making imps non-stop. You can see the next imp that's rallied out builds a conclave. So it was rallied to the same place that the first one was to build the shrine, but this time he catches it on the way and he builds a conclave. So this was Iron Vaults, Shrine, Conclave. And now the next imp needs to go to Therium so that we can afford the gaunts once this conclave is finished. So we have brutes, at least potentially, and gaunts potentially. And that makes you safe against everything, right? Like you can reactively produce a bunch of units. One of them is a tank and does some good damage. One of them is a ranged unit and shoots up. So you kind of covered your bases against everything. And now the next big thing is, so the first brute, once the Iron Vault finished, goes across the map. You go in and you see what your opponent's doing. If you see that he's got a base, so this applies to all of the factions, all of the matchups. You see he's got a base, you can then think about taking a third shrine because he's on 2 bases, you're on 2 bases. You're safe because you have your 2 production structures, and you can basically guarantee that you can get your third shrine up fairly safely without much trouble. So you see Emstorm actually cuts the trees on this map, spreads the effigies, and builds another shrine. So this is once again all off of the back of a 1-1, an Iron Vault, and a Conclave, and just making imps and shrines. You'll notice that there isn't even a meat farm, a tribute pyre for supply, because the shrine is providing supply, and then this next shrine will provide supply. So we're able to skip the production structure, the supply structure altogether. And so you have the brute is in the opponent base. If he gets real low like that, don't be afraid to split the brutes. Make sure you deny the veterancy against Vanguard players. And once again, MSRM saw a third command post, so he takes a 4th base. And this is just the way you do it. If you see the opponent is on the same amount of bases as you, you can then just go and take another one and rely on the defensive mechanics of Infernals behind this. So one thing to note is everything will be different depending on your playstyle and how you want to do it. So from here, it's up to you. You could go more Iron Vaults and Conclaves and just go very brute and gaunt heavy, or you could go up to tier 2 like MSRM did. You can see he's just rallying his main into his Therium and making sure he's got plenty of Therium for tier 2 and, Magmadons, Hellborn, Weavers, upgrades, that kind of thing. You see he's actually gone for a Ritual Chamber and a Hellforge at the same time, so he can get his upgrades going on both types of units. Both structures. Iron Vaults gets upgraded by the Hellforge, Conclave gets upgraded by the Ritual Chamber. So you can kind of upgrade everything all at once. He's got 4 bases, and he will be playing reactively based on what he sees his opponent is doing. So as I say, everything from here on out is reactive. Infernals is an extremely reactive race. They can produce units almost instantly. So the game is to just expand, research, and try and scout and react to what your opponent's doing. So I'll show you another game just so that you get a good idea of this opener, where MSRM does the same opener but will end up not taking a 4th shrine, or maybe not building the double research structures. Okay, so here we are on Boneyard this time. This is a longer map, and we do need to respect that fact. It's longer to get to your opponent, it's longer to get to your natural. But otherwise, the concepts that I showed you in the first game apply the same. So he makes the 3 imps, sends them to Luminite. The next 100 resources goes to the Iron Vault. You can see that he had 50 extra Luminite, so he delayed his Iron Vault slightly. And what this does is allows your imps to mine a bit more, because instead of being a building, he's mining some resources. So this is a sort of variation MSRM is doing so that he can be slightly greedier, but still more or less do the same build, right? It's still Iron Vaults into 2 effigies and an expand. It's still going to be the Conclave next, but once again you'll see that he delays it slightly so that he can get slightly more resources. But the build is the same. It's Iron Vault, expand, Conclave, 3rd base. And that should be safe against more or less everything, and you will be able to scout with your brute and react to what your opponent's doing. So he's reacting to the map first of all, because it's longer, it's harder to be attacked on this map, so you can be slightly greedier where you think you can get away with it. And again, obviously 1 imp goes onto Therium as the Conclave. Just after the Conclave finishes, you just want 1 worker in order to sustain this. Once the Iron Vault finished, he sends the brute across the map to scout, so he's got his 2 bases. He'll make imps as soon as this finishes onto Luminite. And in his main, he's actually rallying to his Therium. There's a small trick he does where he pulls the 3rd imp off of the Luminites. The 3rd imp that's mining in the central nodes. So this is a bit sophisticated or niche, I guess, but these 3rd imps on the middle nodes actually mine slightly less than the 3rd imps on the side ones. So that's why you see a lot of players will pull out the imps and send them to Therium or into the natural even. So in the meantime, Emmerstrom comes in here and he scouts. He says, okay, I can see it's tier 2, very notably. There's a bunch of guys on Therium and you have a sentry post. So his opponent, some cheesy clown, is actually teching super hard on 1 base. He does get a couple of chops in, just, forcing some lost mining time. But the most important thing here is the scout. So you'll see here, the opponent has gone for a Hornet, and I don't think Emissarm actually saw this. Yeah, he managed to miss the Hangar Bay, but he probably already knows because of how many workers are on Therium and the fact that I have tier 2. But in theory, this actually could be a Vulcan all-in. So you see Emissarm, he's got his Conclave. That's just parts of the build. He's got a bunch of Therium. That's parts of the build. And the first Hornet comes in, and he can now react and spam out a bunch of gaunts, right? So 4 gaunts will easily deal with Hornets. They don't have Infest anymore, that's one of the changes, so they are slightly worse against Hornets, but you can see there 4 gaunts, which were just the 2 charges that we'd built, were absolutely fine to deal with the first Hornet, and we have a 3rd base behind this, the opponent's still on 1 base. So the game is pretty much won. If this Hornet doesn't kill an entire base worth of mining, then there's really no chance for the opponent to do anything. But this is just a game I wanted to show you. It's the same build. He did a blind 3rd this game, but the build is the same, just Iron Vaults, expand, Conclave, rally to Therium from the main, 3rd base, and then react. Right, by that time your brute should already understand what's going on, and then you can react accordingly. So it's a very nice reactive way to play Infernals. I see a lot of players, they don't scout at all as Infernals, going Shrine first and things like that is greedier, but you don't get any information, so you kind of gamble on your opponent not doing certain things. But this is the safe way to play Infernals. You get the scouts, you get the eco, you get the reactive defensive ability from Infernals. It's just the best way to play in my opinion. Here is another game, again on Boneyards, but this time the Vanguard does something very different to what he did last game, and I just wanted to show how this build can easily react and adapt to what you get to see with your first brute, and then as the game progresses. So once again, 3 imps onto the Luminite, Iron Vault, when you have the 100 resources, spreading effigies towards your natural and plonking down the shrine. So Emissarm has been rallying from his main shrine into his natural like this, and that seems to be working on these maps, but just keep in mind that on any other maps that come about, there may be a need to send the imp manually from the Luminite, but this is working out fine. You can see, yeah, he could have maybe been slightly more efficient at building his shrine there, but it's more or less correct. So once again, going to want a Conclave. This time he's rallying out and building it forwards. In the last game, he delayed this Conclave a little bit and was slightly greedier, but once again, small variations. The next imp comes out and starts mining Therium to sustain the Conclave. Here comes Mr. Brute. He'll go and scouts. So that was Brute into Imp. You could go Imp into Brute. Not the biggest of deals. Just, sometimes you'll say, I wish I'd made the Imp first, and then I would have had the Therium to build the Gaunts quicker, and I would have done this and that. But hard to anticipate those things. You do these variations by feeling for the most part, and trying to understand how your opponent plays. So, perhaps against me, you want the Conclave faster because you just saw me rush Hornets. But against somebody else that would never rush Hornets, you don't need to worry so much about getting your Gaunts out 1 or 2 seconds faster. Once again, producing the Imps as soon as the Shrine finishes, coming in with the Brute to scout. This time we see no guys on Therium, so no Hornet rush or anything. We go and see, okay, natural with a few workers on, 1 barracks, and we're thinking, where is anything else? You should have at least another structure or a supply house, something like that. Getting chased by a Lancer, sometimes you want to turn around and chop him, and we've already scouted that there's a third base. So able to get a full scout with this Brute at no risk to the Brute, and seeing that the opponent has a third base. Behind this, obviously, we got our own third base. This is blind. We just go ahead and build that and try and defend it, basically. As White used to say, make third base and defense it. And relying on our Conclave and Iron Volts to be reactive. So we saw the third base, we make our Gaunts and another Brutes, just to apply some pressure. We know that the Vanguard won't have many units, and the units he does have will be Lancers, so we make some of our own units and start pressuring. Forcing the sentry post is already some damage. We could even go into the natural and see if we can poke out some more damage there, or we can just start making all of our imps on the 3 shrines, because remember, you have to spend quite a lot of money just to produce workers as well. So Amsterdam this time, he's saying, you've got a third base, so there's no threat to me for at least a few minutes. I'll go ahead, get my 2 research structures, Ritual Chamber and Hellforge, so we can get double upgrades going, as well as another Iron Vault. Actually 2 more Iron Vaults. So we're going Iron Vault heavy, 3 Iron Vaults, and a single Conclave, but we will get the Ritual Chamber to get the Gaunt upgrade so they can have Infest, and we'll get the Brute upgrade to spruce up the Brutes. But there you have it. Once again, this is just a fine example of reacting to your opponent and seeing what he does. I'm surprised Emmerstrom doesn't have a 4th shrine already, to be honest, but on this map the 4th shrine is quite far away, so it makes sense that he's trying to avoid having to do that. But on Broken Crown, for example, you saw he was just out expanding his opponent. On this map, he's probably less comfortable to do that. But you can see the basic interactions here. Lancers coming in and getting a lot of chopping done. This is just a wonderful part of Boneyard, is that you have this access into your opponent's main base, and he doesn't really have any vision to scout it. And then you have a health camp as well. But as I say, this is the basic setup. So Iron Vaults, Shrine, Conclave, and then some workers onto Therium from your main, and then a 3rd shrine. On this map he was doing it blind, but on a map like Broken Crown you kind of want to confirm that your opponent has a natural and isn't being too aggressive before putting down the 3rd shrine, and go from there, right? So it's just a really nice setup. You get your scouts, you get your 1-1, so that you don't really die to anything too silly, so like Hornets and stuff won't work, and then you just play reactively and have a good game. So there it is. Hope you guys enjoyed this Infernal tutorial. Like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.